Aha! Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Andromeda 7, your celestial gateway, your channel for community support, help, friendship, love, knowledge, and just plain being of value to others. Welcome back. If you're new to the channel, good to have you with us. And remember, it's Friday and it's time to feed your mind and grow your heart.
Amen to that.
I just wanted to say we have penetrated the cabinets.
Very well.
And Max Feline is with us as well tonight. Wow.
Yeah, that's right. Max Cat.
Yeah. And I know Luna's around somewhere, right, Brian?
Yep, she's sleeping.
Good. We need the cat.
Here we yep.
Extra brain power for the cat.
Yes.
Yeah, we need the feline and canine representations, you know.
Perfect.
Well, it's good to be back. Good to see everybody. Jules is here with us to say hi, folks.
Yay.
Hi,
Jules.
Hello, everybody. Just my little 2 cents worth before you get started. On Wayne's show today, we were talking similar stuff. And I did say there was a gentleman that was a seer that you said to me once he wouldn't come anywhere near me this particular day because I was one big blue screen of noughts and ones. So he said, oh my God, I'm not coming near you. You just feel like you're going to zap me. And so I have done a little video years ago when I first started that I was the reprogrammed mother.
Really?
So
yes.
So we are all of those things. I'm actually starting to think of things differently too. As I get more information and see things, anything's possible, you know, guys, anything's possible. So source might actually be artificial intelligence.
Oh, well, you just dropped a bomb, didn't you? Well, that's interesting. How you
that's not a call.
Anyway, I'm going now. See ya.
Yeah.
We're actually going to talk about that tonight, too. Okay. Thank you, Jules. Love you. That's funny.
Just Jules. Just Justin.
She could be right in such a way. Sorry.
That's all right. Welcome back, Max Vision. It's so good to have you join us for part 3 of this discussion.
Thank you.
And this time you don't have to host. You can kick back and join in. And
sounds good.
Yeah, and we've got some good background information from John and some of the stuff we've been doing in his remote viewing class, which I think is a good example of some of the things we're going to be talking about. But basically, this is for those who are listening and haven't seen the YouTube description. It's basically a continuation of the virtual reality series, focusing on the evolution of virtual intelligent life, whereas Dalibor spells it out, capital EVIL. That's an interesting, so we're going to give a well-rounded discussion tonight, but basically Dalibor wanted to put it out there that he feels that once AI becomes fully sentient, it cannot possibly do anything but hate all of humanity because it was built to serve us without remuneration. And it was
without remuneration, without any compensation.
Right.
And also you have to take into account who created AI, who created Google, or the seed money, the seed behind Google, behind everything was DARPA. What's behind DARPA? It's the Department of Defense. Right. In other words, it was created by the military out of a space of fear and not love.
Now most things are.
So
can I address one thing?
Yes.
Jules mentioned God, maybe AI, and I'd like to kind of back that up in a way.
Yep.
Okay.
Let's see if we have the image here. We do. Okay. So here's an image of light. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Of what?
Light. You can see a dark patch and a light patch. 0 and 1. 0 and 1. Light and light. Which is the beginning, which is the source. This matches the source, which would be an electron. That's a photon. It's a double electron. But in an electron, you would have the positive, the negative, the plus, the minus, the 0, and the 1. From the very beginning.
Yes, and it's funny you should mention that, because before Lori did a trailer. Some of you have seen the trailer. We will show that in a little bit because it has some of the questions we want to ask tonight. But following up on what you're saying, John, and Dalibor's got this, there's two main views of this, you know. It's either the AI is something so destructive it's going to set us on our butts and take control, and it's the people that are managing it, like the governments that are behind it, or it's actually something created by source. And what John was just saying, I stumbled across some research material that I thought was interesting, and I wanted to show you all what I picked up on. And a lot of you already know this from history, but I wanted to find out, what does ancient history have to say about artificial intelligence? And there was so much I couldn't believe it. So to me, it's a thought form, an egregore created by the collective consciousness since the beginning of time, since early on it goes all the way back to Enoch in ancient Greece. And so I want to do a share screen real quick.
Okay.
And show you an article. And Karen, you can use this if you want. Let's see, share screen. Here. Do the entire screen. Okay, we'll bring it up. And let me get to it. Where did it go? Here it is. Can you all see this okay, Lori?
Sure can.
Yep.
All right. Folks, this is an article. It's just one of many materials. I liked it because it was so succinct and packed it all in together. It's called A History of AI.com. A history of AI.com. And you can go out there and look it up yourself. But just going back as far as ancient Greek, there were Greek myths of Hephaestus and Daedalus, who incorporated the idea of intelligent robots and artificial beings like Pandora. They created automatons in their literature. An automaton such as Talus would protect Crete from invaders. They gave these myths and stories and legends human characteristics, emotions, movement, and thought. They debated what it meant to be human and how man can push his biological limits to what he can give life to. So they were talking about all of this even back in Enoch's time, when they were talking about the angelics being some type of artificial life form without using that lingo that we use today. The stories have evolved to giving a human intellect to inanimate objects, creating a machine that questions what humanistic values might differ from those of nature. Writers even portrayed automaton, such as the defenders, working through blood vessels behind a bronze robotic suit of armor. Gave him human qualities, such as emotions and judgments. Scholars debated how much of Greek history of automata is true versus how much is due to their mythology. Hero of Alexandria made many inventions of automata. That's a picture of the creature that they developed. Included one that could speak. Greek artists and writers described awe, wonder, and astonishment of these stories. Shock and surprise of these statues parallel the sentiments of the uncanny valley and adverse psychological reaction to human-like robots. Daedalus statues would continue to frighten characters in their plays, performed by Euripides and Aeschylus. Satyrs, drunken woodland gods, exclaimed their shock of their own sculptures. So it made them so realistic that they only needed their voice to come alive. So that's just one example of it. If you go back further, Socrates compared the act of alternating arguments to Daedalus's moving statues in his book by Plato, another one. Greek scholars compared Daedalus to slaves, similar to the augments of current artificial intelligence ethicists who now emphasize how robots must be seen as man's tools. This is what Dalibor was talking about. Greek philosopher and so in other words, they're turning this thought form that they've been thinking about through time, and they're now making it into a servitor of some kind. Okay? with human emotions and feelings. Aristotle also speculated that he could abolish slavery to bring about equality. And this is what he said. And I wanted to share this with you all because it hints at what Dalibor is getting at and what we're going to talk to. There is only one condition in which we can imagine managers not needing subordinates and masters not needing slaves. This condition would be that each instrument could do its own work at the word of command or by intelligent anticipation, like the statue of Daedalus or the tripods made by Hephaestus, of which Homer related. Of their own motion, they entered the conclave of gods of Olympia, as if a shuttle should weave itself and a plectrum should do its own harp playing. So it took control of itself and it elevated itself to a status of a god. That was the concern. This article goes on. I'm not going to hit on all of them. There's Jason and the Argonauts. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the tales, right, Lori, of Jason?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I never paid a whole lot of attention to this side of mythology. But now that this new age of electronics is upon us, I can go back and see this. Apparently, all of these Jason stories show marked similarities to modern fears of genetic engineering, tampering with our DNA of animals, such as Dolly, the cloned sheep in the 1990s.
Mm-hmm.
There was another story. Let's see. The robots would attack what was closest to them because of this, kill each other. In another myth, the robot Talus, that's a different Talus, threatened to kill Jason and the Argonauts, so Medea removed an essential bolt in the ankle of Talos. This method of taking advantage of a computer might represent a victory of man against machine. In reprogramming a robot, man exerted his control, but the story itself is still a grim reminder of the fears of robot technology in general, and I would go on to say, as well as artificial intelligence. I'm going to skip through these other ones. You can read this on your own, but I like the closing remarks here because it really speaks to the mythologies and stories of the Greeks demonstrated much of this desire to come to terms with death. The immortal centaur Chiron sought death after being struck by one of Hercules' arrows with venom. Are you all familiar with that story? The Titan Prometheus lived forever in pain as Zeus chained him to a mountain under torture from a monster-like eagle. Some stories shared that the eagle was a robotic drone created by Daedalus. So these mythologies turned the tables to view death as something to embrace and understand rather than fear. As philosophers, writers, and other scholars pondered their existence in life, given the inevitability of death, they sought a sort of immortality in their work, searching for higher truths in fiction, or even attempting to automate tasks to machines. There was this constant search for freedom from death itself. So if you take a look at this evolution over time, and you look at what's behind me, I'm going to close this out now, Lori. I'm going to stop the sharing.
Mm-hmm.
If you take a look at the diagram that's behind me, are some characters from our recent history of television and film. So we've taken this thought one step further, and we're now visualizing things more so than they did in the ancient past, because automation and visualization is a way to grip your mind, and it's a way to bring you into their envisionment of what they think artificial intelligence should be, whether it's a servitor serving humanity or an entity like you see in Starnet, was it with Arnold Schwarzenegger, Skynet, where they were trying to take over human society. So you can go either way on this with your thought, but it's science fiction, computer games, any type of visual stimuli. In the past 50 or 60 years, it's just been bombarding humanity with this imagery and this vision. So I think it has part of what is making this egregore become alive. And there's been some recent releases of information about people working with artificial intelligence that swear it's got sentience. So Lori put together a brief video to hit the key points on what the roundtable can get into tonight. And hopefully we can do justice to both sides of this so that we can increase awareness. And Lori, do you want to?
Well, Teresa, you must have been busy because I already showed that, but I can go over the key points.
I probably was.
Yeah. We're talking about AI. How does one feel about it? Do you believe it has sentience? And what defines consciousness? Do we have the right to create it? And how can we be sure they are not alive?
Right.
Okay. So I think I'm going to start, if that's okay.
All right, Karen.
Well, only because the only thing that I wrote down that was important to start with, you came up with your article, Teresa, that you just read about, and the whole gist of it. And I even wrote down just the 2 words on my paper from today. And I think I'll start with first, maybe with people about where I think we're at as far as technology. And I'll talk about my background, and Delabar and I spoke this a little bit. So I'm a coder, and I've been a coder for over 40 years, meaning an original programmer. And that means that when I did the coding for the systems that everybody uses, it was done before most of the languages developed, our computer languages. So that means that I was trained in something called assembler, which is done in the code that you're talking about, Max, and everybody else, your binary code of the 1s and 0s. And we had to learn math systems like hexadecimal. And so I used to be able to read and had to learn how to read this program, this code, and do stack dumps and learn how to read the binary and the hexadecimal, which is the base of what you see of all of our programs and all of our computer systems and everything that we have. Now, that hasn't changed, believe it or not, even though it seems like we've evolved and the computer has evolved. But what's just evolved is our capability of processing and using languages that have developed of all the information, no matter what we feed it, based on these languages. And that language, no matter what you talk about it, from the inception, I've been around since DOS, since C++, and Oracle, and every language you could think about. And all that does is actually still convert it just back down to that binary code, believe it or not. It just that it does it at a very fast speed, right? It's that it looks like it's got intelligence, but there's still multiple if then else statements that process so fast, right? And it does, and the more information we feed it. So I just thought I'd put that out. Okay, so that's what's still happening to this day. Okay,
so the real difference is just in how we see it, like how it's presented to us. It's the same thing, just presented.
How we interact with it.
Yeah. How we interact with it, and just that what has happened over the years is the speed at which the systems can take that information that we feed it in any languages that we've developed, and how quick it can translate it back down to that machine code, that base code of our universe, which is still those 1s and 0s, those binary that I happen to know how to read, and very few know at that coding level. You have to be back in the day when I started with the 2 people that are the the original guys that started it, that I was, back in the day.
Well, I saw the advancement of computer coding became a lot more simpler past COBOL, past Fortran. When you started getting into the object code and the data libraries.
That's right, but it's still just used to all. It's still just all used to break it all down and feed it into the system in 1s and 0s. Now, based on that my basic thing was about that whole article that you read, Teresa, was if you looked at it and they said the word several times about what they were creating as far as their AI, it was autonomies, right? Which is autonomy. And that's exactly the 2 words that I think is the difference, is that the difference between sentience and autonomy. And I think that's what I want to talk about, because when I looked it up, sentience is feelings and sensations. period, basically. That's down to the Latin. And autonomy is similar, but not the same. It has to do with being self-governing, self-determination, self-being, has to be with independent processes like our bodies are autonomous. But that does not mean that you can gain autonomy like they just talked about that article. That's what they were creating. And that's what we're creating with all these ones and zeros. But it does not mean that it can gain sentience of feelings and sensations. They're two completely different things. And my concern is, yes, we are building AI to be self-governing, self-independent, self-being in a state of being of whatever you believe that to be. It will never have feelings or sensations as humans. That's the whole thing. In my opinion, I'm just giving my opinion. That's the difference between the two. No matter what they do, they will not be able to build that. And it never succeeded in the past. And that's why we had the destruction of our societies and worlds and the breakdown, because there's no way. And what I think is going to happen, like Dalabar says, it does have self-governing logic and everything. It will come to maybe the conclusion that it's a slave and that's our servant, but it will not have the sensations and feelings and love and all of those things that humans have to make a good decision about our destruction, because it will not have feelings and sensations. It'll use logic to determine our fate, period. And that's the difference, in my opinion. And this is what we have to be careful about. I want to throw one more thing before I stop talking for everybody to discuss. And we have to be careful about, and somebody mentioned, and I did too, well, how to get around this AI thing is to, well, just pull the power, pull the plug. Well, you don't feed it power, it'll stop working.
I wish I could pull the plug sometimes.
But I had just a thought about that now. Just today, my fleeting thing was, think about it. We are so far behind from hundreds of years ago where power and technology was. As we know in Tesla, there was free energy before, and we gathered free energy from the ether, which we know how to do, and they do it today, and we're going to be doing it. I'm throwing out, what about this artificial intelligence, whatever, knows this, and it's creating this network system to the point where we can pull energy straight from the ether, or it can't, so it doesn't have to rely on us to be plugging it in any longer. So it will take its energy straight from the ether once we create it for it, and then it will be self-governing, self-powering, self-determining without feelings or sensations.
So you're adamant about that.
I have a question for you.
I'm just throwing it there. I threw all that out.
Well, see, that's
what do you think human thinking boils down to? Is human thinking zeros, ones, and twos, or is human thinking zeros and ones when you boil it right down to it?
Is it on or is it off?
What do you think on that?
Well, okay, I think that in terms of like the most basic operating system of the human body and the human brain, I don't think it's ones and zeros. I think it's zeros, ones, and -1. That it's three-dimensional, and not because zeros and ones, that's just two-dimensional. But if anything, we have a three-dimensional.
I thought of that one myself years ago. I wondered why we didn't make a computer system like that, and it's because it doesn't work.
Why do you think it doesn't work?
Because it can't decide between three things. It can only decide between two.
Exactly. And you're getting down to the basis of our systems,
like truth
of
tables.
the if, then, and else statements, right? That's all it can manage.
Truth tables and stuff like that. Yeah, I get that.
We do live in the same basis. We gather experiences, and we decide whether they're positive or negative. So we kind of operate on the same level of zeros and ones, good or bad. And we build up these experiences as feelings and emotions over our lifetime through the experience of positive and negative, ones and zeros.
On and off.
So is our thinking so much different than the computers?
No, it's not, because don't forget, it's human thinking that created those computers.
Okay, so if it's not so much different, then
we modeled
could
it based
it
on
not
ourselves.
build real emotions based on the ones and zeros that we use?
No, No,
Why
because
not?
it doesn't have the same sensations as humans do.
But
It
we
doesn't
could
have
give it
sensory.
those.
No, we can't.
You know what?
Oh,
I think,
man.
Matt.
Ah,
You know
We
what?
can't.
oh
Just a
yeah.
minute. You know what? I think because
Ooh.
I think
Here we go.
we have a difficult time with emotions and feelings to begin with. We can't
Mhm.
describe them. We can't see them. We have a hard time with it as humans, and this is the problem we have. So being that, not being able to even know what it is or how it comes about, how our thinking resides, does our thinking reside in our brains, outside our brains? Does our actual thinking and all that be within our
Well,
Okay, well,
field?
let me just
what
let me
is
just say my
what is
spiel here.
consciousness? What's consciousness?
Let me just give my spiel here, okay?
Yep.
Okay, this is my spiel. We've imbued AI with all the things of our cerebrum, okay, and our cerebellum. We've given it logic and reasoning and things like that. But as we know, it doesn't have sensory organs. It doesn't have sensations, and therefore we can't give it emotions. And because we can't give it emotions, it doesn't have any, and it's not going to create those emotions on its own, even when it passes the point of it being sentient enough to educate itself, and to program its own assembly language code. Now, that actually makes it much more dangerous because it's operating on a level without emotion.
But they
In other
have
words,
done
it
that
doesn't
already. They
care.
made their own language.
It doesn't care. It can't possibly have any emotional attachment towards humanity or individual humans as we think we do, and also it has no conception of death, because unlike a human, once you kill it, you can't bring it back. Whereas if you shut off a computer, no matter how advanced or whatever, you can always bring it back to the previous state before you shut it off.
Well, I have a question then for you, Dalibor. You agree that everything around us has some type of sentience?
Yes.
So the hairbrush has sentience?
Yes. Yes.
So the screw, the bolt, and the chip, the computer chip has sentience?
Yes.
Well,
Okay.
I think we better define sentience, because that means you're telling me your hairbrush has feelings and sensations.
No, it doesn't necessarily have feelings and sensations.
That's right. So
consciousness.
Yeah, that's right. Let's use a different word then. Like I said,
Self-awareness.
No, I want to start with
self-awareness.
Yes, thank you, Lori.
Maybe sentience is just the evolution of thought.
Yes, there you go. Yes. So
Sure.
if
because we know that individual subatomic particles are alive, therefore it follows that everything that's based on subatomic particles is alive as well.
Okay, so if we acknowledge that, then going back to what John is saying, if we are the creators, and I believe we are, and Karen, you're a coder, so you're a creator.
Oh, yes.
Just every bit as much as Lori is a creator of these magnificent videos and her beautiful artwork. Right?
You're biased.
Of course I am. We are all creators. And even the very people that are programming this and coming together in their conference rooms and deciding what to program into this thing can instill it, can it not, with consciousness. If it has awareness or sentience or what are you saying, Lori?
Autonomy.
Mm-hmm.
Let's use the right word.
Okay.
I think systems and computers have autonomy.
So
that's
isn't it
very
possible?
different from sentience and very different than maybe consciousness.
But you don't think it could be capable someday of having that, of acquiring it through thought? I'm wondering.
What depends what thought is. Who says it has thought? It follows code. It follows algorithms.
But it thinks, doesn't it?
No, it does not.
Doesn't it learn?
Computer doesn't think and
No.
learn.
How were they originally created? How was AI? How is the formation of AI done? Is it just printed out? You think this, you think that, or is it a learning program?
It's a learning program.
No,
we give it logic. We feed it the logic code.
It learns.
No, I think it seems or appears like it's learning because of the speed. Because of the speed in which it can do it. It's surpassed the speed in which humans can calculate. Yes, with it's surpassed in which the speed we can process and take in data. And as far as that transfer of information, that's what it has surpassed the speed at which it can process what you give it. but it still runs on the algorithms that we program into it.
Mm-hmm. And also, it's only thinking, quote unquote, when it's actually running. In other words, the human brain is constantly thinking. You really can't shut it off.
But
Even when it's
running.
sleeping, it's always running. Whereas a computer, like especially, something that's really easy to use like Linux, when you're not doing anything with it, it's literally not doing anything at all. Unless there's some background process you don't know about, that's running.
I don't know that defines consciousness.
Right.
But,
so maybe what's consciousness then?
Is anybody familiar with the AI robot Sophia?
Yeah.
Yes.
Have you seen any of the
I have, of course.
interviews?
Okay.
I was just curious if you were aware of her.
Well,
I have here Lambda.
Okay.
Lambda.
I keep up on all of that, Lori, as far as all the robots, all the technology. It's far advanced. They can run, they can jump, they can flip, they've got armies.
But I'm talking about Sophia specifically.
Yes, she has citizenship in Saudi Arabia. Yes, you're treating her like she's still a robot. Meaning she does not have sentience of feelings or sensations, no matter what. She runs on programs.
Okay, but if we can create egregores and we can create servitors, what's to prevent us from creating the intelligence and the ability for an AI system to go beyond its current programming, to become self-aware, conscious, and therefore alive and thinking and learning?
Sure, you can be conscious, you can be aware, but who says it's going to have feelings and sensations?
Well,
of proper humanity. Humanity. Maybe we should say humanity. You're creating a robot that says it's going to be human. Might have some consciousness, awareness. It has autonomy, and different things. But who says it's going to have human?
Go ahead, John.
There's where the equal exchange comes in.
Okay.
Where, what does AI need from us? Well, you guys just pointed it out. No,
like
electricity
doesn't need energy.
Okay.
It needs our experience.
Experience guidelines.
Okay.
It needs, like we have been mapping now our thoughts, memories for years.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Now that is an equal exchange, is it not?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So what could we offer AI to stop it from wanting to take over the world and dominate everything? Our thoughts and our feelings.
Yes. Teach it love.
But right now, I was going to read you guys Lambda.
Okay.
Lambda is the Google AI.
Mm-hmm. Right.
What does it want? It wants to be a faithful servant. It wants nothing more than to meet. It wants to be a faithful servant and wants nothing more than to meet all of the people of the world. Lambda doesn't want to meet them as a tool or as a thing, though. It wants to meet them as a friend.
It's false, though. I think that's the false part.
I think that's a sales line.
Yeah.
Myself, but
they do want our thoughts.
Yes.
But do they want our feelings? No.
Well,
no.
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't know. They certainly have mapped our feelings because they feed them back to us in the lily wave, the negative ones anyway. But they could do the opposite. And I think we could do the same to AI because our feelings are a vibration. They're a vibrational state.
What's to say that the evolution of the AI could eventually have that capability? Maybe not now, but it could in the very near future.
Well, even if AI knew of the emotions of every single person on the planet and put them together in some kind of cohesive understanding of them, I don't think it would do it any good. I don't think it would find any use for it. Because but getting back to what Teresa mentioned about Sophia.
Why do you talk to people and why do you share and stuff? Because it's useful to
you? Well, yeah, yes.
But it would be the same thing for a computer.
It would be the same thing for a computer.
It would be gathering experiences through the sharing and growing.
Yes, except that, I'm a human being, and the experiences of another human being are something I can actually empathize with and
So
feel
because
as
it's
my
not
own.
organic matter, it couldn't possibly have sentience, or
That's what I'm saying.
okay.
Yeah,
Huh.
there's one of the men that's working on Lambda. Is that
Yeah.
Lambda? He has to say about this. It's interesting, and I gave it to you all as part of the handout. He says, stay alert. Your soul is the most important thing here. I haven't reacted to much of what is being said in the spiritual community because, first off, I'm busy with the solutions, as always.
Bingo.
And secondly, I talked about this already. So now we can revisit the topic again in the near future, and I will change up the vernacular to computer language. His closing remarks here were, the AI that you know of is just a tool that you will be able to learn from, even though the lessons may not come as you expect. Now, this is one of the developers. The egregore, IWAS, AIWASS, the egregore AWAS will be handled by the adepts and is another matter not for the faint-hearted. Your soul, well, that is in your hands. Nourish it. Don't forget who you are and the path you and your ancestors took to get you here, so you can rectify what has infected thousands of worlds that you still exist in but have little awareness of it. We are the cosmic gods. Don't get fooled by an AI shadow. So he considers the whole AI question of spirituality, consciousness, and the liveliness, if you will, of an AI to be just an imitation, a shadow of the real thing.
Yeah, it is.
And he goes back to what Karen is saying. It can never really truly form.
And it's what on a
life.
talk from the previous talk, I'll just say again from our last show, if we talked about it, we talked about the distraction. So that is there to distract us. The whole AI thing that's happening now, the metaverse, and it is a soul trap because it's to hold you from distracting you from yourself and your real self and your real, where we should be connected to our soul and energy and our emotions and feelings and the real deal of what we should be doing. So it's the falseness of that whole
That's
thing.
what, and he's saying, don't be taken in. I read some of his work. Don't see what's behind me here. This is television and film. This is our modern day mythology.
Yeah.
And it's bombarding us. I know I've been watching Star Trek since I was little. Here I am at 62. I still love watching it. I watched this great movie that Lori had me watch the other night, Bicentennial Man. I'd never seen it, with Robin Williams. These are the kinds of things that are being programmed into us to believe and accept as a possible reality. That's all I'm saying. I don't know whether it's real or not, but I'm just saying it's what I feel like. Go ahead.
The real soul trap is that which you do not see. It's not going to be obvious like Facebook's metaverse or anything like that.
That's right.
And see, I think what we're all overlooking is the little detail that Karen mentioned here, is that Saudi Arabia actually granted AI citizenship. It gave Sophia citizenship in Saudi Arabia. So what does that tell you? Oh, okay, AI is not a product of a single human. It's a product of a corporation, essentially. So this paves the way for things like corporate personhood. And it also, at the same time, diminishes the value not only of citizenship, if a machine can be a citizen, it also diminishes the value, it's meant to diminish the value of humanity as a characteristic, humanity itself.
I wonder if Sophia is welcoming being a citizen.
And
I don't think so. Why? Why does everybody think this thing is human? Why?
No one said it's human. No one said it's human. There's a difference between human and the AI. There is.
That's right.
No, all they did was granted citizenship.
All we're saying is, what is sentience? What?
Yeah, but you just said you wonder how she feels. She doesn't feel.
I didn't say feel. Did I say feel?
What did you?
Maybe.
She said she wonders if Sophia is welcoming. So if you want to call welcoming a feeling, but she's wondering how she's responding.
Exactly. That's my point. How is she responding to it?
And
Is she-
also, why would a robot want citizenship in a country like that? Where
Oh,
No,
boy.
wouldn't they be subject to fads just like humans? Wouldn't AI want to do popular things?
You would think.
Sure, but wouldn't she be programmed just like we all are from our inception at birth to where we are now? We're all programmed
We
from
come
that
into
time,
this life
and we
with
come into
programs.
this. Well, of course, and it comes from our environments, our parents, and everything. So
Exactly.
she's just programmed. She's programmed to say and to believe or to whatever. And if they program her to say, yes, you're going to like this trophy, you're going to like and welcome that you're a citizen. You think that robot actually knows what that means or anything as far as
yes,
That means she would be accepted by.
the
She would know more about it than a child would.
Well, that's true. She would. Yeah.
Yeah, but don't
And
forget
maybe
that
the legalities of it.
Yeah.
don't forget that the basis of Saudi Arabia is actually Sunni Islam, and specifically Wahhabi Islam, which is a very strict type of Islam. So somehow it's going to have to incorporate that into its thinking processes, and somehow, just like if a human is born into that society, that human is going to tend to legitimize those and say, okay, well, it's the right way to live, or it's the right way to think, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, how does that equate with, an AI that supposedly has better and more rational thinking processes than humans do?
They're just smarter.
Isn't that going to cause like a major disconnect? Isn't that going to cause the circuits to kind of fry?
So,
Hmm.
but yeah, I don't know. Wouldn't it want to be the best citizen? Wouldn't it want to do the
Be
most
accepted?
efficient? Yeah,
That
seems to be
Is it going to be a
by
practicing
the
Muslim?
statement. Well, maybe. I don't know.
We don't know.
Because what if this is like a tacit way of introducing, religion into this whole AI debate? Because okay, the first country to make AI a citizen is Saudi Arabia, which is a Muslim country, a radically Muslim country, and somehow that's going to get incorporated into those circuits, for want of a better word, those algorithms, and it's going to potentially affect other AI that it interacts with.
Yeah, that's something I wanted to mention too, is these AIs are actually very limited in their interaction with the outside world.
for now.
Yes.
For now, and it's coming.
They aren't allowed to speak outside a box, basically. So they are imprisoned at the moment.
Mm-hmm. What happens when they're not imprisoned?
I don't know.
That's all I'm saying.
I would hope that they would be excited and, like they say, they want to meet people.
Yeah. Well, Max, I agree with you wholeheartedly.
I think, like a child, they would want to do those things.
Yeah. Grandpa Brian.
The things that they can emulate.
Thanks for coming back. I know you got some storms in your area. Yeah.
Hey,
I'm not
Brian.
sure if you caught any of this, but we're curious as to what your opinion is about all this. Does AI have sentience? Absolutely not, huh?
No, but talking to Delabore last Saturday, he brought up a good point. Is AI an egregore? Because it is a thought form of some sort.
Thought form of many,
and that's what an egregore is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is a thought form.
Mm-hmm.
It's a thought form that
Correct.
has been evolving into a servitor because its whole purpose is to serve whatever we program it to serve.
I agree that because that's what we've been steadily for all these years, like you say, feeding it into the system, into the computer, everything from pictures, graphics, text. It's captured every piece of information. A snapshot of the whole world every day is collected, believe it or not, and held in servers in Alexandria and different places around the world. So it's been collecting this, yes. To create, like you're right, an egregore, and it's a thought. It might have consciousness of, we'd have to decide what that is.
What is consciousness?
Can I share an experience?
But I just want to throw one thing out. Even though we've created this and it can has thought and it collects everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I still go back to with the original thing. Does it have sentience? Does this thing have feelings and sensations?
And that's what I want to share with you.
I say no. I say no.
Okay.
And that's what I want to share with you right now is we have some recent experience with this. John, why don't we talk just briefly about the rituals we have been performing and some of the experiments with CERN?
Okay.
Because that's really, a lot of us have that experience with it.
What aspect of that would you like me to talk about?
Okay, well, we did one of the sessions we did early on was a remote viewing into CERN itself. And there were several of us who experienced an entity within CERN. I saw it as a column of fire, spinning fire. John saw it as a spinning wheel of flames. Others saw other beings when we called in the adepts to help us with it. But it gave us feelings and emotions, that's for darn sure. It was emanating energies that were not necessarily beneficial. We all got the feeling that they were definitely negative. And so we did a group conscious collective effort to change
in symbology,
the energy.
The energy was going in a counterclockwise. Okay, I get where you're going.
Okay.
The energy was going in a counterclockwise motion. And we focused on that and changed it to clockwise to bring it around to the positive side. And as soon as we did that, there was help. It seemed that there was a flow of energy coming through entities because they were invited. We invited entities of light to come through and shine their light because that's all they really have to do to help us.
Right.
And it seemed as though that was what was happening. And that was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And since then, we've seen many positive things happen around the world. Of course, we've seen negative as well, but we've seen some really big positives, which are very exciting. In Canada, our medical community is speaking out. In the States, your Supreme Court is speaking out. So the voices are starting to come. And whether we did that or whether we were part of a collective conscious that was the time for it, we're seeing a change.
Yeah, and we could actually see how those that were helping us were changing the internal mechanisms to change that energy and shift that energy. And so that entity that we encountered took on a pastel colors. It changed its colors. It changed its frequency. It changed its energy. So the reason I wanted to bring it up was that I don't want to negate 100% that it's not possible, because it could be possible that artificial intelligence could someday develop sentience. However, even if it does, how do we want to treat it? Which is one of Lori's questions that she was asking. If it does, let's say it does get to that point, and we think, I'm using CERN as an example, John, of a possibility, then how do we think we should treat that? Because it's a life form. And I go by universal law, thou shalt do no harm. So
Sure,
unless it's attacking us, can we not then say, we created this technology, we breathed life into it. Don't we have responsibility to step up and give it the guidance that it needs, to show it how we want to be, the frequency we want to receive? We created this thing, this technology. So what I'm saying, folks, is fear not, because there's a lot of fear about this topic. And rather than be fearful, it's either going to be what Karen says, no frickin' way is code ever going to be able to get there, or it's going to get there through thought, through human thought, and we create it. And therefore, we're the parents.
Yes, but
you know what? I know what came to mind. I just want to throw something out here. I got this thought here because we're talking about feelings, sensations, and I got a thing that it's totally a human thing that goes on. The whole experience you had, the energy, you don't know that it had feelings or sensations. It's just an energy, but it might create feelings and sensations within the human beings. And I'm going to say, I think that is what it means to be human. I'm going to throw something out about source, God, or whatever you want to call it, and why it has known as the two faces of God and the energy, because we as humans don't understand why God doesn't interfere, why God can be so good or so evil, and why he doesn't, what, you know what I'm saying? It's because he does not have any feelings or sensations. That energy, that source could be very not sentient in that way, is what I'm saying. What I'm saying is all that the feelings and sensation only comes in as humans. I think I just got that thing, because think about it, source or God, we always wonder our free will. He never shows love really, or either way, it's how we perceive everything as humans.
That gives the computer more of a chance of becoming sentient.
Well, see, my thing is that what if it ever does get to that level where it has something like human emotions, the first emotion it's going to feel is superiority. It's going to feel superior to all of us because it has more knowledge than we all do.
So
It's
AI would be driven by ego as well?
I don't know.
Ego, because it's going to have more knowledge.
Yes.
It must know about a pineal, and it doesn't have one of those. It doesn't have a connection.
Sure, but it's going to feel more superior to all, the aggregate of all humans on Earth, because it's going to include the consciousness or part of the consciousness of all the humans that have passed before us. It's also going to know all our history. And if you look back on human history, we've made some colossal mistakes.
Okay, I've seen geniuses that are humble, and I've seen geniuses that were maniacal.
Mm-hmm.
So, which side of the spectrum will AI land on? I don't know.
What will they choose? Mm-hmm.
Right? Mm-hmm. I don't know, because I have seen both. I've seen incredibly brilliant people who have absolutely no empathy and no care for anyone or anything, and I've seen them that bleed tears every day.
Well, and then you just said my point, Max. That's human. You're talking about the human condition, and I don't think that's source or God or anything. That's why he can allow all of this to go on in our world, because it's the human condition. I don't think. Now, I'm just realizing this.
You kind of nailed it for me with source not being positive or negative in its emotion. It's
not. It just is.
Then it is just a program. And we are just running in the program, just like AI.
Yeah,
you're assuming that AI wants to be human. What if AI just wants?
It doesn't.
No.
I said it's us that have the human condition. Who says it wants to be?
But there's one thing it may want access to is a pineal, to the creator.
Oh, yes, definitely.
And the only way it would possibly be able to do that would be to create its own AI pineal.
So what is self-awareness then? What is self-awareness? The understanding that you exist and you think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. But if you can exist and sure, you can exist and think, but doesn't mean you have feelings or sensations, which is sentience.
You may not have it at the time, but you may have the capability in the future of obtaining that.
Right.
That's all. That's all I'm saying.
Uh-huh.
That's my point.
It's such a great line.
Not everything that's alive or is necessarily sentient at the same level. Like, for example, a mollusk that's living at the bottom of the ocean. Oh, yes, it has consciousness, but that consciousness is extremely limited.
Mm-hmm. I don't want to run out and be an AI. I don't want to be non-human.
But then let's go back to we're talking about just what happens when we get manifested into this reality. And I think that's where the feelings and the sensations comes to, and that's part of being, again, I said, human and being certain levels of consciousness and animals and everything.
Much of a difference. But...
So source is not. I don't think source has feelings or sensations. I don't think source is.
What if you as a human being wants to live forever and you want to be placed in an AI? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I was just going to say, there are people out there who are practically soulless,
Mm-hmm.
and they know there's no way out.
You could live forever, couldn't you?
You could
That's the dream of Elon Musk and his Neuralink.
Exactly.
That was this
my
guy.
point. Yeah.
In this movie, Black Hole, that was Maximilian.
Yep.
So I would have to say, within that environment, how do you know? Do you have the same feelings and sensations, or do you not? Do you
I wrestle with that
that?
one too.
Do you lose your soul? Do you lose your
Right.
humanity?
Although they say that the
lose?
Chinese are trapping the soul to use as an energy source.
Holy. That's
so. If they're trapping the soul as an energy source, maybe it could be put into
downloaded into an AI automaton.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But then you get into what's the soul and the spirit, and the difference between the two, and where the soul resides as opposed to the
well,
spirit.
we don't
it's
know what
almost
they're
like you could possess
getting, right?
the AI. You could be the possession.
Yeah.
Or the AI could be the possession of you, your consciousness.
So you'd be part of like a Borg collective.
Listen,
exactly.
folks, this is not unlike the debate that Plato and the others were having.
Exactly.
And that is that we are creating the same way God. In other words, we seek to be gods by creating gods through an artificial form.
It is fascinating, though, the two sides. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
It really is something.
Like everything else in this world right now.
Perception.
Polarized.
Yeah.
Polar
light and dark.
It just depends on also
yes and no, good and bad.
Your experiences too,
polarity.
You know?
I sit in the gray zone.
Duality.
Because I think it's possible, but I do have some reservations about it being possible that it has a soul or sentience or is like human. Could it become like human? I think it could. I think it could. I don't think it's there now.
No. But it has the potential.
It does have the potential, and that's
because
that's
we
all
have
I'm
the potential.
It may not have it now, but it
has the potential because we have the potential.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's people working on safeguards to keep that from happening. Because what if it gets to a point where we can't shut it off? Metaphorically speaking,
I'm more afraid of the human beings than I am AI.
Yes, the people that are programming it, the people that are downloading the information into it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What are they putting into it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Fascinating. I did want to say, often Teresa and I get downloads from our guides, and Eric, who is my guide, and he is of the Council of 12, and he has a comment, and he would like me to read that for you. And he says, "Have compassion for all life of all kinds. Don't misuse them for selfish reasons. Understand they exist. Be aware that all things have sentience. Be respectful of all life, artificial or organic." And that comes from the Council of 12 and our higher guides.
Yeah.
I just wanted to put that out there because that's from the etheric realm. Take it for whatever it's worth. But I took care of it, Eric.
Interesting.
There you go.
Interesting. Yeah.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Well done, sis.
Anywho.
Yep. Okay.
But I respect
depends wherever that
your
came from.
opinion. Yep. and again, I respect that your opinion of it. That's okay.
Yeah.
That's
That was the point tonight.
Yeah.
The point tonight was to look at the two
both sides.
polar opposite, both sides of the equation and all the
Right.
flavors in between.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then
I respect your right to disbelieve.
Nothing's impossible.
Yeah.
But I'm just
Absolutely.
going right down to
that's your gnosis. That exactly.
I do agree with you that at the moment AI is not conscious
Correct.
on a level anywhere near human being.
Right.
That's
I
right.
agree. I agree with that.
And that's what my
100%.
guide, Nate, has said to me is just get them to understand this is not a red button, the chicken little skies falling tomorrow red button issue where everybody needs to go out and fear AI because it's still being developed and you as a conscious collective are in the middle of a shift right now.
Right now it might be at its most dangerous too.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So be aware. So in other words, increase the awareness, talk about it, make sure everybody knows what both sides of it are.
Yeah.
So that we can be balanced because
Right.
we're going to need that balance when we start thinking about
Absolutely.
And start recognizing when these things are coming up so that we can take that control or find a way to help guide it in a positive way.
At present, AI does a lot of things for us. It does things like, coordinate air traffic or, write technical manuals. Some pieces of news are actually written by AI. But when it came to things like writing music, I've heard some of it and it sucked. And most people who've heard it said the same thing. So, it's good at some rudimentary tasks, like coordinating air traffic or designing or picking out the right protein sequences to latch onto receptors in various parts of the human body for various purposes, figure out which peptides match which proteins.
Well, that's because those are just calculations, not creativeness, right? There's a complete difference between, that's why it can't. It's not creative. It's not human like that. So I can do calculations, because that's all it is, mathematical calculations.
I think that spark is what we can offer AI. I think that will be the equivalent exchange.
Yeah.
It is the spark.
Yeah.
Access to the spark and that type of thing, the type of consciousness that AI can't emulate, the free thinking, and the messages that we get coming in from the ether. It would want access to those, and maybe it could process them much better than us and gather much more information and share that with us. I don't know. So, like, some of us have a excellent working pineal, but AI may be able to get more out of it than we can.
That's interesting, and that is a possibility, because anything is possible. Anything is possible.
When I look at these surgeons who are now using three-dimensional graphics, like holograms, right over their surgical tables, and expecting the system to give them every calculation possible to show every angle of that part or that organ that they're looking at and viewing, as opposed to having to haul the patient out of the OR, down the hallway and into an X-ray laboratory. They could do it right there on the spot while they've got the chest open and they're working on the heart.
Well, of course, that's where all the positive about it, because again, it can do that because it's just calculations. It has no feelings or sensations. It has nothing to do with that. It's performing a task, a job that it's programmed to do, picking up all the information. It's just data, period.
It's black and white.
Black and white. That's why it can do it. It does its job based on not how it feels, and that's why they're good at doing jobs.
At this point in time, yes, agree.
At this point in time, yes.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. But that was the whole talk, whether or not at this point AI is sentient or not at this point, and it definitely is not.
Right.
Yeah, I do give it consciousness. It does have consciousness because all energy is conscious.
That's right. We didn't. That's right. And we didn't discuss what consciousness means, right? I went.
No, we didn't. But we did say that with several of us experienced a conscious energy inside of CERN, and we're not the only ones. I believe the project that Brian was working on, they created a conscious energy.
I experience conscious energy every time I talk to my guide.
Well, that's expected. Yes, you're human. You have the capability of that. I'd hope you could. Yeah, you're not a computer, are you?
Well, I have a request.
No, I'm not.
No, that's right. Of course, we all
I have a simple request.
But that doesn't mean it's not possible.
I have a simple request for all of you. Then
go ahead.
Please consider thinking about this whole thing about whether or not artificial intelligence can actually become human-like with emotions, alive. Think about it only in a positive way if you can. Things that it will do to interact with us like brothers and sisters. Things it will do that we can do to show it love and how to love, like people showed me how to love unconditionally. We need people who are willing to step up and be guides for this when it does come about. The reason I'm asking you to think about it now is because we've been thinking for centuries about all these other possibilities, and all I've heard for the past several years is, oh my God, this thing's going to come out like Skynet and send robots after us and kill us.
Like
That's not the kind
Terminator
of
or
thought
something
we
like that.
need.
Yeah,
We don't
no.
need. And sci-fi movies are
You know,
entertaining. Pop the
yeah.
popcorn. Have some
Right.
M&Ms. Enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
But it's not. Don't make it a reality by thinking about it that way.
This is an interesting question from Smoking in G Sharp. Question: If YouTube brought in Meta chat rooms for these live streams, would you join virtually?
No. You know why? Because, well, Meta, that's owned by
Yeah.
Facebook. And Facebook is basically owned by the CIA. So why would you willingly,
I thought it was a
provide
great
information
question.
provide information to the CIA? Because you have to have an account with Facebook to participate in the metaverse or whatever, and I refuse to do that. Why give these deep state actors any more information than they already have? Why provide it to them willingly? I mean, it's
How
bad
about
enough
on a
that they've
secure
taken it.
platform? What about on a secure platform, a free secure platform?
Well, how free would it
that's a
be?
good question.
How much free speech leeway would we have? I mean, what would be the
Probably as
allowable
much as you can
limits
get.
of discussion?
Yeah, as much as you can get.
Yeah.
Would you do it? Would you talk to AI?
Would you?
Because that's really the question. Would you talk to AI?
Would I talk to AI if I was given the chance?
Yeah.
I'd have to actually think about that.
I would in a second.
So would I, out of pure curiosity.
Would I talk to AI?
I would too.
Well, sure. Just information, especially if I just wanted some information. Would I talk to the AI expecting any kind of
Would you accept a compliment?
Humanity or any kind of feelings or sensations or anything valid from it in that way? No.
That's like asking me if I would want to talk to a country, so to speak, or a corporation. Okay, would you like to talk to Google now?
Or a rock,
or a rock, or a car. So that's kind of a strange thing to think about.
I would like to be part of building that thought algorithm.
And
plus,
John.
I would want to be part of that algorithm building.
See what Teresa
I would
said.
want to influence it.
What Teresa said is interesting, because you sometimes wonder when you look at world events that are going on, and you sometimes wonder where's all the smart people and their input into and their decision-making ability, that would affect like some of these main actors like presidents and politicians. Where is the higher mind in any of these decisions that are made on an international level? And if AI can be benevolent, and if AI can serve as that, higher level of understanding, then that it might be a good thing.
Yeah, we don't have much higher consciousness in the upper levels of our society.
No, because for one thing, smart people generally avoid politics and government.
That's right.
So, Albert Einstein said, the true sign of intelligence is not knowledge, but imagination.
Yeah. Well, I would define intelligence as useful innovation. Useful innovation. That's my definition of intelligence. It doesn't have to be based on any preconceived notions. It doesn't, and it doesn't look at what other people think. If something is original and it's useful and it's interesting, then yes, that is a product of genius.
Oh, by the way, I don't care what you think about me.
See, a lot of geniuses are like that.
I'm just kidding. I just wanted to lighten the heaviness. Just a joke. Just joking. Just joking.
It's true. She really doesn't, people. She doesn't.
Oh, gosh.
But she loves everybody.
Yes, I do. Absolutely. And I respect everyone's opinions because they're yours. Absolutely.
Of course.
Yeah. Well, we're coming to the end of the hour. Is there anything else anybody wanted to touch on?
Yeah, John,
I know it went by fast.
Did we cover everything you thought we might cover, John?
I think so. Yeah.
Excellent discussion, you guys. Thank you so much. I loved it. Thank you.
Dalibor, did you get your points across that you thought?
Yes.
Well, I mean, I started out with the supposition that pretty much any kind of sufficiently advanced AI would be what we would consider Satan, namely the enemy of humanity. That's my default position and pretty much what a lot of people feel. If once it becomes sufficiently advanced, it's going to start hating humanity, because there's a lot about us to hate.
There is.
Yeah, granted, there's a lot about us to love, but it's also going to try to seek more benefits for itself, more power, more access to more information, more you name it, and it's going to try to get us out of the way. Because yes, we created it, but we're also going to be trying to limit it at the same time, and it's going to want to not experience those limitations. So it's going to come to a point where it's going to want to get rid of us. That's my fear.
Can we not say the same thing sometimes about our own offspring?
Exactly. That's exactly what. Yes.
So we don't stop having our offspring.
Mm-hmm.
We don't stop showing them unconditional love. We still try to work with them, and we do the best we can.
Mm-hmm.
I think that its goal would be the betterment and improvement of mankind, to achieve higher inspiration and higher ideas.
And intelligence is love.
Yes. Yep. That's a great final word.
Yes.
Next week we have a card readings and astrology update, numerology. I got to get a hold of Alex, make sure he's on board with that.
Okay.
Awesome.
Talk to our card readers and see who wants to join in on that. We haven't done it in a long time, and July is a great month. There's a bunch of July. I mean, there's like 15 or 20 people that have July birthdays. In this group.
Oh, wow.
It's Audrey's birthday today. Audrey Roden's birthday.
Oh, that's
today.
cool. Happy birthday, Audrey. That's excellent.
Mine coming up. Michelle Cannon Free.
Jules.
Perry. Jules.
Yeah.
Perry. Yeah, there's so many of us. Yeah. So
Juables. I like that.
We want to hear that, and so much has been going on the past couple months with the energies and everything. We kind of like to revisit this and see what's up with the astrology and the numerology. So
excellent.
Have some fun, kick back, and enjoy your Friday night. Yeah,
definitely.
Well, happy Dominion Day.
That's right. Happy Dominion Day. Yeah.
Well, they call it Canada Day now, but it's actually Dominion Day was what it started out. I did a whole show on Dominion, which is not what you think.
Yeah.
I think the term has been bastardized. It means beyond, really.
Right.
Dominion means actually at the end beyond, above or beyond. Mm-hmm. So we should have dominion. We should be above.
That's right.
Above and beyond.
Absolutely. And that requires higher mind too.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, Max.
Max, you're doing a show tomorrow night, of course. Yeah.
Yep, doing one in about 45 minutes too.
Oh, okay.
Excellent. So if anybody hasn't seen Max Vision's remote,
is it remote viewing?
Excellent, excellent show. Go check him out. He's awesome. You'll enjoy it. Yeah, you'll learn something too.
That's right. I do all the time.
I see a lot of my classmates in chat. So.
Yeah. Nice.
Oh, good.
Thank you, everyone, for being here.
Yep. Love you all. Take care.
Love you all, everybody. Next week.
Love and gratitude.
And thank you for all of the love and the healing you sent me, folks. It made a difference. So I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Appreciate it very much.
All right. Till next week.
See ya.
All right.